Council, is there a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and I do apologize that we took about almost 45 minutes of your time. I will open it up to, unless maybe, Bill, you want to,
I'd be more than happy to address some of the concerns that issues.
don't know if there is any, you can make a statement, you certainly can.
A couple of things that we want to make sure, we understand.
You have to talk into the mic.
If you could state
take
your
one of
name,
those, can't
sir. No, just stand in front of the
You
podium.
can face us,
He
actually.
wants to see, he wants to look at them.
Okay.
I know.
Sir, just stand in front of the microphone.
This way?
Stand in front of the microphone. sir.
Bill,
Face
just-
us.
just-
That's
just
face
address-
us. No, behind the mic.
outside.
We're okay.
You can dance later.
Are we confused?
Just address us.
It's fine,
Okay.
it's fine.
Some of the concerns that we know are out there, and we've addressed them in the executive session, and quite frankly, as we're going through our due diligence, these issues have come up that I know some of the constituents and the residents will be concerned about. The first one is the letter that was sent and published in the paper that was authored by myself and Mr. Stone and sent out to the paper to make everyone aware of the allegations that have been issued against Monroeville and the investigation by both the state and the federal governments into some of the privacy issues and the HIPAA violations. That letter was required by us to comply with those requirements. It was not intended by any stretch of the imagination to panic any of the residents, but to alert them that this was going on. And again, we are required to do that in order to continue to work with these government agencies. Now, the second most important thing is you may be thinking to yourself, am I still in jeopardy of someone getting to know what my health issues are, what my HIPAA facts are? Where is my bank account? Is my bank account secure? Is my Social Security secure? And so on. The answer to this is yes. All of this has been protected because the system is now shut down. Now, that happened several months ago. So the bottom line is that there is no chance of anything happening moving forward. So now, what is going on? What we are doing pursuant to our retention by Monroeville is we are going through the system from the time of September, August 2010 through the time in which the system was disengaged. And we are analyzing with the computer experts and the private investigators what actually occurred. Were there any information, personal information, either HIPAA or Privacy Act issues, i.e. bank accounts, PIN numbers, all that kind of thing, to see what the facts are. Now, until the time that we have definitive answers to what those questions are, we can't tell you what we're working on, and we can't do it piecemeal. It's just, we cannot do it. Now, as far as a timeline of when we are going to have those answers for you, I will tell you that it will be within the month. And we will have definitive answers to you on what occurred, when it occurred, and if any violations occurred. We will have that for you. But we just can't give it to you piecemeal because that wouldn't be right to do. We need to get all the facts together, and we need to give the council a definitive package with the expert reports in it and our legal conclusions and the conclusions from both the federal and state government. So I know it's frustrating, but number one is we're doing everything we can to make sure we find out what happened. And number two, we're doing everything we can to work with the government in order to make sure that nothing bad occurs in the future. So having said that, Mr. Mayor, I mean, I'd certainly answer any questions that anyone would have, but other than that, I think that's all we have.
Thank you. And we'll move along to our citizens' night proportion of the meeting. And Harold, Linda, come on up. Harold's going to concede. Please state your name and address for the record.
Linda Gatos, 178 Westminster. First of all, I'd like to remind all the residents of Ward 1 that Election Day is May 21st, and remind them of the food drive that I'm sponsoring. There will be containers at each of the polls to make the donations. I'd like to personally thank each of them ahead of time for their support of the Minerva food pantries. Next, I'd like to thank all the people that donated their time to the Senior Center Spaghetti Lunch. The turnout was fantastic, as well as the food. I would like to say a big thank you to all of you that were involved and that served and helped out with that. It was wonderful. And also, while I was going to door and door, I've been receiving very positive feedback and kudos from our residents in regard to our mayor in keeping Monroeville informed on various council issues. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for keeping the Monroeville residents in the loop. And I was asked by many residents to please say that to you. Now, at our last council meeting, Mr. Fulkerson presented the council with a bill that for a meeting he had with an attorney, Jack Cambest. He said that since Mrs. McKinney had also met with Mr. Cambest, that his and her bill would have been paid by the municipality, that his bill should be paid as well. So my question is, Mr. Dice, were you present at that meeting with Mrs. McKinney with Mr. Cambest?
No.
No. You also met with the special counsel of Dickey and McCamey, didn't you not, Mrs. McKinney? Did you meet with them in the beginning, special counsel? Mr. Dice, were you at that meeting? The first meeting she had with them?
I don't think so.
No, okay. So who attended these meetings with you, with Mr. Cambest and with the special counsel? Did any of the council members, since our solicitor did not?
No.
So you did this by yourself?
Correct.
Okay.
Wait a minute, let me explain. Mr. Cambest and I went to lunch together.
Okay.
It wasn't a meeting.
So you didn't have, there was no legal talk at all? You just shared a sandwich and?
No.
No, no legal talk at all? Oh, okay. All right, well then, so you've met with outside attorneys outside of the building without our solicitor with you, and I'm just wondering if you all, as members of the council, if you find that ethical, that that's being done with no representation from our own borough, and basically since you, Mrs. Allison, you, Mrs. Drumheller, you, Mr. Erb, you, Mr. Ramsey, you voted her into this position. Would you please give me your opinions as to if you find that ethical, that she is meeting with outside counsels without presentation or presence of our own solicitor?
Are you
Anyone?
referring to Cambest or are you referring to Dickey McCamey?
Pick. Either one. Should she be meeting with outside counsels representing Monroeville
She
without
had-
our solicitor
She-
with her?
We have an email from Mr. Dice indicating that he recommended her deal with special counsel for this other issue, with Dickey McCamey, with his agreement. So,
He just said he was not at her meeting
wasn't.
with them.
He-
And he was not at her meeting with Mr.
Dice, did
Cambest
you
as well.
not give an email?
Sure.
Saying she should go ahead and go with, he basically told her to go ahead and go forward with the special counsel
I
for that one issue.
recommended special counsel.
Yes.
Mr. Dice and I had a complete meeting prior to us even bringing special counsel in for the HIPAA situation.
Okay.
And he recommended me obtaining special legal counsel for the municipality because it was above and beyond what he could do for the municipality.
I understand that, but then the meeting that you had with them, I just want to know who was with you that heard the discussion, or was it just you one-on-one with these other attorneys?
I believe that I'm the manager of the municipality. I can meet with whoever I choose to meet with.
That's why I'm asking. Was there
Yeah.
counsel there?
So
Was there
I don't know
were
what the
council members
questions are.
there?
No,
So
there
that,
was
you know,
no one
everyone's
there.
clear on, you know,
The
what
council
went
does not
down?
get involved in that.
Well, it seems like a lot of things have happened behind closed
doors.
doors, and, you know, I just want to know that everyone's being above board.
We were all given an email with Mr. Dice's recommendation to do that. We were all advised of it through Mrs. McKinney and Mr. Dice prior to their meeting.
And no one felt that there should be anyone there at the meeting beside herself and another attorney?
She is the manager.
Okay.
I don't understand the ethical question. I mean, it sounds great for TV that there was a possible ethical
I'm not here
question
for,
you're
I'm not
asking.
here for TV, sir.
But you did ask if there was an ethical question.
asking
and
you, do
trying
you
to
find this
understand
ethical or
what
not?
would you find to be an ethical problem? She's the
To
manager.
meet with outside attorneys without our solicitor present, I find that could possibly be unethical. I'm asking the
I talk to
question.
many attorneys. Mr. Finnegan comes in my office on a weekly basis. Mr. Zunick from Mr. Dice's office is in my office continuously. I meat with many attorneys.
Did you meet with these attorneys inside your office then, or outside
Yes.
the
Mr. Dice,
building?
Could you explain from a legal standpoint what an ethical violation would be?
I didn't say a violation, sir.
Well, you said it, you asked if
No,
it
I
was-
said, do
asked-
you think it's ethical? I did never said the word
Okay, so
violation.
define what you mean
Please
by,
don't add
is it
words into me.
ethical?
Is that a question about whether it is ethical?
No, I said, do you think it is ethical?
Well, that sounds like a question as to whether you.
If our attorney
we might
deferred
think.
that issue to another attorney, I would have no problem with our manager meeting with Mr. Dice.
Then you're saying
without-
then you
and
find that
If he
it's okay.
deferred that issue to a special counsel.
And she's saying that her meeting with Mr. Cambest had nothing to do with anything.
I'm talking about
That's- there was
Dickie
two-
McKinney.
I'm
Well,
talking
that's
about
why I
two
asked
separate
you which
issues.
one you wanted
And
to.
I believe I'm
either
allowed
or.
to go to lunch with whoever I want to go to lunch with
I
on
didn't
my
say it
lunch
was
hour.
lunch. I was
I
under the
went
impression.
to lunch with
think-
Mr. Cambest,
Yeah,
and
I
I
think
can
she
go to
clarified
lunch
that.
with anyone I want to go to lunch with,
Certainly,
anyone.
certainly.
It was therefore a lunch that she's talking about here.
Well,
So
that's
I don't know what the issue is.
not how I understood that, that's what that meeting was about.
Yeah, it was a
Well,
lunch.
Well, where
Was
did
there
you
a
get,
bill
who told,
issued?
did Mr. Cambest tell you this? I mean, if.
No,
who
this
was-
came out at last council meeting when Mr. Fulkerson presented his bill to be paid, since she also had a meeting with Mr. Cambest.
I didn't have a meeting with Mr. Cambest. I had a
I'm
lunch
going
with Mr.
by
Cambest.
what was said at last month's
Maybe
meeting.
you should
That's
have
why.
called me and checked into it, but I
Yeah.
did not
I
have a
am,
meeting
I'm
with
talking to you now.
Mr. Cambest. I had lunch with Mr. Cambest.
Yeah, but wait a while, let's just make sure the record's clear. On that bill that Mr. Fulkerson had your name involved in that meeting as well.
That is correct, and Mr. Cambest provided a letter stating that he was incorrect in his billing statement.
To who?
Oh, well,
me.
I never
You have
saw it,
it?
nobody else saw
I do
it.
have it upstairs.
Would you like it read into the record?
Well, I think maybe it should be.
Okay,
I
then.
mean, it's just a
We
question.
will
It was
take
brought
care of
up
that.
last meeting. I'm just following up on that information to make sure that we're all above board. That's all.
Actually, if you really want to get down to it, I think I'm owed a salary for talking about Mr. Fulkerson's issues on my lunch break.
Oh, I'm sorry, you just said you didn't talk about anything at lunch.
Yeah, exactly. I talked my lunch break. But Mr. Fulkerson's name was brought up on my lunch break. So maybe Mr. Fulkerson now owes me
I'm
money
a
for
little
my
confused
lunch.
because you just said you
But
didn't
I'm
discuss
allowed to go
that,
to lunch
so-
with anyone I'd
All right,
like
we're
to go
going
to
off the
lunch
Okay,
subject here,
thank you.
folks. Lou Smith. Please state your name and address for the record, sir.
My name's Lou Smith. I live at 148 West Patty Lane, Monroeville.
And ladies and gentlemen, before you get started, Lou, listen, I know that there's still some tension. Please try to keep professional when we address council. Please. Thank you, Lou.
The attorneys that were hired here, I know they went in and gave a report here tonight. I had a few other things to say about that, but being as they've already given their report, I'll not expound on that. It does bother me a little bit how these people got hired here in the first place. May I ask you a question, Lynette?
Depends. You really should be addressing the chair.
You can address me, Lou.
Ms. McKinney said that she Googled for HIPAA violation attorneys and come up with this firm. Is that correct? Did anybody lead you or direct you toward this firm? From this council?
No.
Does anybody on council know anybody from this firm?
Sure, I've seen Mr. Stone from this firm through local government academy training that I've attended. To that extent, I know of him, but I don't know him personally.
I see. How about you, Ms. Ellis?
About 25 years ago, I worked with a work comp attorney from the firm.
Mr. Charlie Brown?
Yep.
So that had no inference as far
I
as
haven't had any communication with him in years.
in years?
Yeah, about a
Nope.
year and a half.
Year and a half. I understand you're very good friends. You sure you didn't call him and refer
I'm
him?
100% sure I didn't call
You're
Mr.
that
Brown.
sure? Because I'm wondering how these people got hired here when the attorney that was up here is not considered a HIPAA attorney. He's a real estate eminent domain attorney. And we're paying $300 an hour, and I'm a taxpayer, and I resent that. Those questions that were asked here could have all been answered by you. They could have all been answered by you. All you had to do is ask the questions and send it down to the federal agent that's handling this case in Philadelphia, and would have been saving us a lot of money here in Monroeville. A lot of money. Next thing I want to touch on is Mr. Ramsey. Mr. Ramsey, read in the paper the last 2 weeks that you have not paid your taxes.
Right.
Mayor?
I had to
Well,
pay
you-
for my kid to go to Central
I
Catholic.
can't stop him.
Well, let me tell you something.
We already discussed, hang on a minute. I want to get the record straight. And
Let's
Mr.
direct the
Dice,
comments through you.
Yeah, you can direct your comments to me, but, yeah, I'm already hearing from some of council that I need to,
Well,
corral
it
people
would-
in.
it would appear that
Do they
it's not
have a
happening.
right to say what they choose to say at Citizens Night, sir?
I don't know how you control, I mean, this is,
Would-
I know I'm not trying to be mean, I'm just, how do I do that?
Well, you could address that question.
He can address it to me, that's fine.
I have a problem as a taxpayer of having this man, Clarence Ramsey, sitting up here on this board when we pay him taxpayers' money of $3,600 a year, and he can't pay his taxes that are probably around $2,200. That's an affront to me as a taxpayer. And I think Mr. Ramsey, under the circumstances, should resign his place on council effective immediately. And being as his wife owes as much taxes as he does because it's a co-ventured problem, she should withdraw her candidacy from the 7th Ward effective immediately.
I'll let him go.
And I got 2 letters of resignation here that I'd like you to pass it on to them, and a withdrawal. No, he's not going to act on them.
Can I say something now?
Do you want the comments to come to me, or do you want them to come to you all? I mean, let's wait till he's finished. Go ahead. Lou.
As I said, it's an affront to me as a taxpayer, and I know I've heard from many, many, many people in Monroeville. It's an embarrassment to Clarence Ramsey to sit on this board. It's an embarrassment to his family. It's an embarrassment to me as a citizen of this community. And he should withdraw from council effective immediately. And there's a signature on there for Mr. Dice to follow up on it. Mrs. Drumheller, over the last couple months, I've heard the councilman up here actually left his seat, come up here and talk about your behavior at a meeting. Last council meeting, I heard the mayor expound on that same thing. So I made some inquiries
About an executive session?
about a meeting that you attended.
Oh, that was the executive session then.
Might have been.
Oh, it definitely was.
Anyway, let's cut to the chase. They didn't say what you said. Well, I'm here to tell the people, being as you're running for council, I'm here to tell the people exactly what you said. You were in a meeting and was calling these people MFers and CSers.
Really? Is
Really?
that a fact?
Legal and personal.
Really? And putting your arms up, blocking their exit, leaving the room, and had to be physically removed from doing that.
Oh, well, that's nice that you would hear that. Where would you hear something like that?
You know what? I'm not here to answer your
Really?
questions.
Oh, okay. Are you here to call my neighbors through, or perhaps one of your associates might be in your stead, calling and contacting neighbors that live next door to me from out-of-state retirees, inquiring about activities that I might do? Would that be something that somebody that you talk to might be doing to me? Is that something that maybe not anybody who comes to the podium anymore might be involved with, but perhaps they're starting to
You know what,
try
I
to
d-
find something out about me?
You know what?
Is that what we've had to listen to for the last 5 months? Which, if you did have something to say, I really think that that's the position of a
You
citizens'
know what?
night.
I did have
to have something to say.
and I'm not going to sit here and
But
argue
to
with you.
do what you
I'm not here
have
to
done.
answer your questions.
You have done something that steps over the line by that action.
What has he done over the line?
I'm not even thinking that it would be Mr. Smith doing this, but I can certainly tell you that Mr. Smith has friends that like to inquire.
Let's put it this way, Lois. I had a phone call from somebody
This
that I
certainly
know.
is awful, isn't it? It was very awful.
I had a phone call from somebody that I
You know what, folks? This is Lou's time.
Yeah, it sure is.
It sure is.
Sure is, Lou.
And you're trying to, evade the facts that what you said in this meeting, and that's what I just stated, okay? And I think that was conduct unbecoming a council person.
You don't have any idea what that conduct was.
Listen, I'm not
You
going
really
to be
don't.
interrupted by you again.
Well, you're talking about an executive session, and I refuse to
The
listen to this.
executive session was over, and let's just be honest, Lois, you did it.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
And
you
that's
did.
something
Come
that
on,
you
give me a break.
You don't have an idea what you did because you walked out of that room.
Yeah, because you were swearing like a trooper, and I didn't want to hear it. I never heard words come out of a woman's mouth that came out of
Okay,
yours.
okay.
And you did try to block me, as well as Jimmy Johns, and then when we were walking down the hall, you still were screaming at us, swearing at us.
You
That's the
And you know
facts.
what?
in an executive
First
session,
of all,
sir.
The
Lois,
executive session
I
was
think
over.
you owe these three members of council an apology, the mayor an apology, and the people
I
in
don't need an
Monroeville
apology. It
apology.
is what it is, but I
No,
can tell
I
you, if
think-
it
I
had been
think
me
what
to
you-
do it, I'd have had charges put on.
I think what you might want to do is I think you might want to go back about 4 years, and then you weigh, how respectful people happen to be during the executive session. I will tell you this, it's sometimes very respectful, other times not very. And there's a whole, almost 5 years that I have of that memory. So when you try to pretend that you know what went on, or the mayor, walking
was
out
there,
of that,
Lois.
says that he wasn't in the executive session, try to remember that was an executive session, so I hardly see
It
where
was
this
over,
matters.
Lois. It was over.
And of course, Mayor, no lady talks like that. No lady has a reason to point out some absolute lie that was put out to the TV crews with an apology. You talk about apologies. There's an apology owed to several people, several entities. One of them is the Allison family, because when you went to the media and you announced that you knew the reason why
wait,
any
wait
of the
just a minute.
Yeah,
reasons
this is,
talking.
yeah,
You
this
had-
is Lou's time.
You know what?
you
I'm talking.
had to be the person to apologize first, because that lie led to my anger.
Oh, give me a break.
You know
Go
what?
ahead, Lou, it's your time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
That's-
folks.
that's-
I
it's fine
apologize to
to
everybody
MF
here.
and CS
Well,
people,
here
right?
we've all got it out that Lois was angry, and guess why? Because there is a big fat lie that was put out there for no reason, and that's the black eye that Monroeville
Okay,
started.
we need to end this now. Lou, go ahead, continue with it is your turn. This is their turn.
At the same
If I-
time, Mr. Mayor,
if I-
it would be appropriate if this is not blatantly political. I expect that tonight's going to be somewhat on the attack mode. but
did
at
you
the same
hear-
time,
did
it
you
would
hear
be
what our
appropriate if it's
solicitor
not
said?
Blatantly.
Mr. Erb, did you hear what our solicitor said? There's no way to control anybody that wants to come up and address this council. It's called freedom of speech. And you're allowed to do that still.
There's a line when it's abusive.
There's no line here when
I
you're
believe
just
so.
giving their opinion.
Okay, what's your next point? You have another?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Mr. Erb,
Yes, sir.
last meeting, I heard you make a statement about how you tried to help out Mr. Silka, and you were confronted by the mayor about that, that that you didn't have him fired, that that he resigned his commission here, and that you thought he was a really good municipal manager, and that's why you called out Robinson Township and gave him a glowing recommendation. When in fact, you met with this man out at Dick's Diner, threatened him, as did the other 3 council people up here,
There's
Allison.
nobody else there. The only person that was at that meeting was me.
Was you. Yeah, exactly. The other 3 had already had their say with him and threatened him and to fire Cole. But you had your own meeting, so you didn't violate the Sunshine Law. I get it. I get that.
I can't speak to what happened at a meeting with other people, but I can tell you that I never told him to fire anybody. Again, I've never said that to him about anybody.
And neither did we.
You told him you was going to let him go if he didn't fire Doug Cole.
I did not say that.
Fire you.
You're putting words in my mouth.
Here's
There's
the
never
thing.
the word
Here's the
fire
thing.
used.
What's it mean when you say there's going to be blood on our hands? What's that mean? I don't know what that means to you, but it means to me that you're going to do something nasty.
No, that's not what it meant.
Oh,
It meant that I believed that we needed a change, and he expressed concerns to me. I expressed concerns to him. I said he needed to deal with it.
well, you know
I
what?
haven't changed what I've said, Mr. Smith. I've said exactly the same thing to Robinson that I said publicly on the record on January 31st. That I've said on the record subsequent to that January 31st meeting. I've said the same thing over and over. I haven't changed that.
Yeah. You threatened to fire the guy, and you end up doing that.
Everybody
And you
texts
put
us.
an unqualified person up here in his stead. That's what you did. And you, Mrs. Allison, I seen you in the paper here a while back. Never had a conversation with Lynette McKinney about demoting Doug Cole. I think you think we fell off a turnip truck.
It's just the truth. Never had that
Yeah,
conversation.
it's the truth.
It is.
You're the one that led the charge.
Well, you see what's the issue
You led
is
the
people
charge. And I'm tired of
confuse-
being interrupted.
the
Will you
re-
please let me talk?
You keep referring to fire. No one ever used the word fire. The word was remove. And people are confusing that. And I think when it goes down the line, people get that confused. Remove from employment and remove from a position is different. It does
Yeah.
not mean fire. And everyone keeps saying, you keep saying fire. There was never the word fire, never came out of my mouth to anybody.
Right. The next person I want to touch on here tonight, she's not here, normally she is. And that's the other person that's running for mayor, and that is Jan Oshesky.
Mr. Mayor, again, in this case, this is out of order because she is not a public official at this point. She is not on this board. And
No,
she
but
has
it's somebody
nothing to
he
do
can
with this
insult,
municipality.
so-
I'm asking the solicitor.
You can
Okay.
defend herself.
Yeah, I think
Can't do that.
I think it's wonderful that we have this country, okay? And, constitutional rights saying things. I really think that we're going a little bit overboard here. If Mrs. Oshefsky or Miss Oshefsky was here, I might see it a little differently. She's not. I recognize that she's running for mayor. I just think that the comments that you want to make about somebody that's not here are just not appropriate, okay? And there are going to be people that may want to disagree with that. There has to be an end to this. I mean, I go from community to community, and every time I go to another meeting, someone says, well, tell me about Monroeville. Okay, can you explain to me how this goes on?
Just show them this.
And folks, if you feel that this is good for our community, then we should continue to do it. But I would suggest to you that I would say that since she's not here, it is inappropriate. Save it for the polls. I mean, that's the place to do it.
Well,
certainly-
you know what, Bruce, this is a public forum, and this is where you get it out. Because I think this was very egregious, and I believe that the people that she's asking people in Monroeville to vote for her, and I think they ought to know a little bit about her. And I happen to know something that she did that would be contrary to her endeavors. And I want to say it.
Again, this is,
Let the solicitor.
Well, I've said what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I believe you weighed in on that, Mr. Mayor.
and he said that it's inappropriate. So, Mr. Mayor, it's your responsibility to manage this.
Yes, it is, and I'm
you
and
hear
I'm
me?
wrestling. You know, Lois, I handled the meeting very well. Maybe not to your liking, and I too bad for that. But
Did you hear him?
Lou, you might probably want to hold that because I don't want to put you in any jeopardy if that to be the case. If it's illegal, is it illegal for him to say that?
No, it's not illegal.
Well, I'm just saying. I don't want to put the man in jeopardy. You can say what you need to say, but if that's going to put you in jeopardy, don't do it.
I don't know how it's going to put me
Yeah,
in jeopardy. I was here at the
Anymore.
meeting when this happened.
What do you want me to do here?
I know this.
I'm asking your opinion.
He has to get
I've
his
said to you,
slander
I think
fix
it's
every-
inappropriate. I think that
Even
you,
Then leave
criminals
it.
have a right
Leave
to
it.
defend
Then
themselves.
you're going to have to leave that. I'm sorry.
Even the criminals have a right to defend themselves. She's not here. If she was here, how can she even comment?
Well,
on it?
I'll tell you what, then why don't you, being as you're good friends with her, why don't you call her up and get her
I
up
got a better
here?
idea, Lou. Why don't you?
I don't want to talk to her.
Oh,
Call her and have her come up on Tuesday night, and I'll address it then. And she can answer me
I'll
right
gladly
here.
relay the message for you.
How's that?
I'll
You live in the
gladly
same
relay the message
ward.
For you.
That'll work. Anything else, Lou?
No.
thank you.
Tina Mueller. And then again, ladies and gentlemen, I
forgot about
tried to.
Harold.
No, well,
I thought you were going to take Harold first, right?
Harold agreed to let the residents
Okay.
go.
Sorry,
That's, sorry.
sorry.
But before you start, Tina, please, ladies and gentlemen, I know this is, again, I apologize for we're going off the record, but I don't want to ever quell anybody's First Amendment rights to freedom of speech. And if there's certain lines, that's why I always ask our solicitor, and hopefully we're doing that. And again, Tina, if you would, state your name and address for the,
I'm Tina Mueller. I live on Ramsey Road, lifelong resident of Monroeville. For those who don't know me, I did work for the municipality in the IT department for a while. I prepared my speech before hearing what the municipality's lawyers said, but I still believe all of it applies. I'm sure most residents are aware that there have been several news reports about an alleged HIPAA violation in Monroeville. I have been following these reports and noticed several factual inaccuracies in them. When I read the latest article in the April 25th Times Express, I felt compelled to respond with a letter to the editor. I wrote the letter and submitted it to the Times Express late last week. I missed the deadline to be published in the May 2nd edition. However, it was received in plenty of time to be published in today's edition. Unfortunately, they did not publish it. Because I feel that incorrect information is being presented to the public, and that some people who are unable to defend themselves are being accused of things, I feel it necessary to share my letter. It seems like the Citizens' Night meeting is the appropriate time to read this. I would like the citizens of Monroeville to hear it. I want the Monroeville residents, at least, to be properly informed. Dear Editor, I am writing this email in response to the April 25th Times Express article titled At Risk. While I understand that the public should be informed of any potential breach of their personal information, this article contained factual inaccuracies that I feel it necessary to point out. I worked in the municipality of Monroeville's IT department from 2000 to 2012. From some time prior to my employment, up through 2010, the municipality used dispatch software from Spillman Technologies. The Monroeville Fire and EMS companies could log into this system and view fire and EMS data consisting of the address and a short description of the incidents. This did not include people's names, people's social security numbers, or people's driver's license numbers. Please note that this is standard industry practice and is not considered a HIPAA violation. For further information, I have a website here. It's www.911dispatch.com. HIPAA/info/HIPAA_position.pdf. It's a very good format. It describes how HIPAA feels about dispatchers. Starting in 2010, an initiative was started to upgrade or replace this software, and then Lieutenant Stephen Pascarella was put in charge of this project. The Spillman software was replaced with a product called AlertTS. Because Pascarella was the project manager of this project, he was empowered to make all the decisions about how the software would operate and who would have access to it. He was given special privileges into the AlertTS software called super user privileges, and no other employee had this access, not even the IT personnel. When the software was installed in August of 2010, Stephen Pascarella went to the fire companies, installed the software, gave the generic logins to the officers, and gave training on the software, along with a member of the AlertTS staff, the people who wrote the AlertTS software. Because the fire companies were considered different agencies from the police department, the only user that could have created those accounts was a user with super user privileges, which only Stephen Pascarella had. In the aforementioned article, Doug Cole was falsely accused of creating those accounts. Please note again that Doug Cole did not have the proper system access to create those accounts. Therefore, he could not have created them. In addition, since the attorney hired by the municipality to investigate the claim did not address this in his warning to the residents, I question if he is aware that AlertTS software has rather extensive logging capabilities that were enabled when these accounts were created. It should be very easy to examine this log both to see who created the accounts and clarify if sensitive information had been accessed. I hear now that he's been going through to see if sensitive information has been accessed, but there was no word about the creation of the accounts. Certainly, this would have been a more responsible step to take before scaring the public into thinking they suddenly have bad credit just because they called 911 to request an ambulance. I look forward to the official HIPAA investigation by the Department of Justice, and I'm hoping that they agree to speak to all parties with relevant information. I am quite confident that an unbiased investigation will exonerate Doug Cole of any wrongdoing. In the meantime, I write this letter to help clarify the situation for the residents whose faith has been shaken, and I urge them to make informed decisions on Election Day, May 21st.
Beth Fishman.
If you could sign in, please.
I did.
Okay, thank
And
you.
state your name and address for the record, Beth.
Beth Fishman,
you.
164 Bluegrass Circle.
Thank you.
I just want to clarify something that was discussed earlier, and actually kind of ties in, Lynette, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
At last month's citizens meeting, Ms. McKinney said that she and Mr. Dice reviewed through the internet and chose Dickie McCamey. At the council meeting, Mr. Dice said he wasn't aware of Dickie McCamey being hired until everybody else found out. So I just, based on what was said earlier, could you just, I mean, from what I heard tonight, you gave Ms. McKinney permission to hire whoever she chose, is that correct?
No, what happened is Lynette and I had a meeting and we discussed the possibility of hiring special counsel. With that, both of us started to say, well, all right, who would that be? And I think I had a name. She was looking for names. And it wasn't Dickie McCamey at the time. It was later that I found out that she retained Dickie McCamey. I think, as she has said tonight, it was good advice, and I think we both mutually agreed. I don't know whether it was Steve was there and Susan, but it was mutually agreed that special counsel should be contacted in this matter, because this is an area like some of the other areas in a municipal field that really takes somewhat of a specialist. I don't have that background with HIPAA. And so I'm not sure how she decided on Dickie McCamey, but as I've said, I think at the last meeting or at some meeting, that they certainly come with a very good reputation in the community.
Absolutely. And I think Dickey McCamey is one of the most well-respected law firms in Pittsburgh. They do more pro bono work than many of the major firms, and they never seek recognition for it. If I have a construction question, Bill Clifford's the first guy I'm going to call with Dickey McCamey, or Rob Marino for professional liability. But I'm sorry, Mr. Bresnahan's recent press release on joining Dickey McCamey, he will concentrate his practice in the areas of appellate practice, civil litigation, construction law, and municipal law, with an emphasis in real estate litigation. I don't think he has the background to be doing this HIPAA investigation.
Ms. Fishman, we have a whole team of attorneys that are working.
Well, apparently
Dickey
he's
McCamey.
leading your team since he's here tonight.
He is leading our team, but there's 5 or 6 attorneys that are on every email, every conference call, every person.
And how much is this costing us? Are we paying 5 or 6 attorneys per hour? His rate's $285 in his engagement letter. Are we paying every 6th attorney, every 5th attorney that's there
Would you
to
have liked a
participate?
$1.5 million fine for
Well-
every issue we have had?
And that brings me to my point, my next point. The article in April 3rd's Trib said Monroeville had 2 weeks to submit documents to the federal government or face the $1.5 million fine.
Yes, and thanks to our attorneys, we got an extension for that.
That's not been publicized.
Well, no one's asked.
So again, we're being kept in the dark about everything.
Well,
It
council was
seems
just
like
all...
this investigation has switched from HIPAA now to we're looking at financial documents, and we're being warned that our driver's license numbers, our date of birth might have been accessed through calls to the police station.
That's a requirement through HIPAA under Section 45 of the law.
And why was the notice then just published in one place? Why wasn't it put on the website?
That's what the law states that we need to do.
It wasn't in the Post-Gazette, was it?
Publish in a general circulation in your community, and that's what we did.
But it wasn't in the Post-Gazette, or it wasn't put on our informational government channel.
We didn't need to. You can address that to Mr. Bresnahan if you'd like.
So the original HIPAA violation is now turned into this financial. Not yourself, not Mr. Bresnahan, not the candidates with integrity. None of you have seen fit to contact or put information out there for the residents that they can protect themselves by getting a free credit report once a year. No one's given them the information. No one has said, let's have a little session at the library for residents so they can access their credit reports once every 4 months to see if their information has been, their credit's been compromised in any way.
We have all that information available for anyone who would have phoned the municipality.
Why would they know to phone the municipality? How does a senior citizen know that they can call a 1-800 number and get a free credit report? How do they know that they can do that once every 4 months if no one tells them?
I'm just wondering whether or not the recommendation would have been to do it that way, because as far as I understood, the law requires that the language be crafted so that people are notified properly under the law. So, and I see that one of the gentlemen would actually be able to answer that.
I'm sorry,
You have to come up
sir.
to the microphone.
You have to state your name.
You have to state your name and where you're
We do
from.
things really official here.
Thank you.
Harlan Stone, and I'm an attorney with Dickey McCamey, and I'm one of the attorneys that's been working on this case. And I just wanted to take a minute and maybe answer your question. When we became aware that there was an allegation or a complaint of HIPAA violations, one of the things that I have had experience with as a municipal solicitor is violations of the State Confidential Information Act. A lot of lawyers, a lot of municipal solicitors aren't familiar with it, but because I had some firsthand experience with it, I was able to realize that if the computer system had been open for any period of time and health information was being accessed, it was also possible that the type of personal confidential information that's covered by the State Act might also have been compromised. And so in an abundance of caution, we wanted to make people aware not just that health information might have been involved, but that other types of information might have been involved. And we wanted them to be able to take the necessary steps to protect themselves from that breach as quickly as possible. So it was really based on our familiarity with both laws that led us to make the disclosure, not just as to health information, but as to what the State Act calls personal identification information.
Separate from that notice, why didn't you take the step? Why didn't any member of council or Mr. McKinney take the step to provide information to the people of the community that they could begin getting free credit reports from one of the 3 major credit agencies at no cost and check their information and do so every 4 months?
Because at the time, our investigation was open and we didn't know whether the type of information, financial information, bank account information, social security numbers, was even implicated.
But you've put notices out there that says, there's articles, warning issued on financial accounts.
Again, all I can tell you is we were trying to be as thorough as we could be with the information that we had available at the time and my familiarity with both laws.
Well, and I believe you've all done a disservice to the community by not providing that information, and I have it with me if anybody would like to pass it on to any member of their ward.
We just put it up on TV 15.
You want to submit it, Beth?
Sure, would you like?
Yeah, why don't you give it to the mayor and the manager, either later or whatever.
Okay.
And Beth, I don't know if other members of council, but I received that information when the public did. I mean, I wasn't notified prior to the posting in the press or in the paper. That it had to be advertised.
Thank you. The other thing I'd like to address, the candidates with integrity. I don't know if you're a manager of the website. You're certainly on there. You're certainly supported through it.
What was that?
The Monroeville Candidates with Integrity. I think it's appalling in this day and age that a picture was published of another candidate with his young children with the word liar written in capital letters there and was allowed to remain on the internet until Linda Gatos made phone calls to get it taken off. And I think you, council people with children, ought to be particularly appalled that this was permitted.
I'm not sure what you're talking about. What is this, a website for?
A Facebook page for the Monroeville Candidates with Integrity that supports you, Lois, so I'm surprised you don't know
No,
about
I don't
it.
have, I'll tell you what, my extension of Facebook is to maybe, have some family photos and like a couple of things, but I wasn't aware about this. Is this, I guess you're talking about a Facebook page that somebody put together then?
Yes.
Okay.
That supports you and the other candidates.
Okay.
That published a photo of Paul Caleri's children with the word liar. Now, if Paul chose to pass that out, that's one thing. In his ward, to put it on the internet, where in this day and age, with all the kooks running around, it was allowed to remain.
I'm
It's
not
just
sure.
totally
I'm not sure who to
unacceptable.
address that to, though.
Oh, I know who to address it to. I'll share that with you privately. I have all the names that even tapped into the website.
Well, I just think it crossed the line, and I don't think it should have. You don't, right.
It's
Just so
as
you know-
inappropriate as somebody talking
About a
about
candidate
a
that's
candidate
not
that's
here.
not here.
Exactly.
I absolutely
You're
agree.
attached to that page.
Yes.
You know about that page, and that was my kid.
I know about that page. I don't
Paul,
look at
Paul,
that
you
page.
gotta, folks, we gotta calm
Chuck
down.
Allison was on that page, too.
I don't even
both
know what
know
you're
about
talking
it.
about.
I don't look at that page.
Mayor.
Folks, we gotta stay calm.
I'm not attached to it.
I don't
I
know. I
haven't
have a
liked it.
Facebook account.
You're involved in it, too. Don't think I don't know who you are.
Oh, my God.
Steve,
Well, he's the one that put it up.
Steve,
Paul.
My God.
I don't know.
That's his
You're
children.
absolutely right. and I
Mr.
think
Yakin's the one
it's
put it up.
inappropriate.
Yeah, it was. I can prove it. My son's an IT expert.
Okay.
I'll prove it for Tuesday for you, okay?
It's,
I'll give you every name that tapped into the site too, okay? I can do that. There's 25 of them last time I looked.
it doesn't matter who did it or why
Well,
they did
no,
it, but
it
I
does
think
because
it's
it's a
just
shame.
another incident of what's dividing our community. And I think this place is going downhill quickly, and if we don't get it under control, there's going to be no one left to do it.
Beth, I agree. You know, it's okay to attack me as a politician, But
I
my
don't have a
family
problem with
or
attacking
anybody's
someone on the
kids,
issue. You don't
I don't,
attack.
that's wrong.
You know, I
Personally.
had, Mr. Mayor, I had to have to call the principals at the school after your last episode on TV, so I understand what it's about when you lied about my husband. You lied about my husband on TV, and I had to call the principal at the school to protect my children as well. So don't go and act all righteous on this when you did the exact same thing.
I didn't attack your kids.
You attacked my husband.
I didn't attack your kids. We're
Yes,
talking about
you-
children.
You lied about my husband.
All right, you're right. Harold, you're up next. Pass. Would anybody else like to address council? Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize for things getting a little bit out of control.
Do I have to sign this? Nobody signed it. Do I sign it?
Did you sign the sheet, Betsy, to talk, to begin?
No, is there-
Okay,
is there
if you
another
would
sheet?
then. If you would, just sign,
There's not a sheet up here? Here.
Yeah, but there's no names on it.
because they already signed in.
Okay. The only thing is, as you all know, I'm head of Crime Watch in Garden City.
You could state your name.
Yes, state
Oh,
your
I'm
name and
Betsy
address.
Desmond, Firethorn Drive. I'm head of Crime Watch in Garden City. My main, besides the crime, my main concern are my widowed, and I don't mean old people, that live by themselves, whatever. I've gotten calls this week. Now, you're talking about this politics and attacking. I've been in politics since I've been 6 years old because my mother's job depended on it down at the county. I've seen it all. I've been through all the crazy stuff. Like what's going on in Garden City. Now the wife's running. Been through that. I tried that one too. But when I get phone calls, Lois, and I'm not attacking you, you run your campaign in your neighborhood, have had it. You win, you win. Do not come. I don't like the fact that you're coming into Garden City and the people that you went to had their candidate that they want to vote for. They're got the guts to put his name in the yard. They're not afraid. And you stop and you talk to them about Mrs. Ramsey. She's a big girl. Okay, she's a big girl. She can go out and campaign for herself. Because nobody's been on my street except Greg and Tom. That's it.
So are you saying that
You went to
can't-
these people's house that live by themselves with their candidate's sign in their yard to try to convince them that Ms. Ramsey is the better candidate when they told you up front who they wanted. You not only brought up the one lady's fact that her husband, deceased husband, was on council. You upset her. She is just now getting better. She's been sick. Don't tell me she lied.
No, this is
But why are
crazy.
you
This is-
in my neighborhood?
Well, I guess what you're asking is why can you not walk with somebody in campaign? I believe there are some people, I'm looking in the back row, who walked with somebody in the
I
third
understand.
ward.
Did you walk with
No,
Carolyn that night?
but I'll tell you
that day?
what, I sure do campaign
what?
for, but what does that have to do with anything?
Because you upset them.
Betsy,
And you weren't
I've
with
upset
her.
them,
Betsy,
okay.
try to
All right.
direct it at me, please.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess asking for a vote could upset, okay, thank you.
If I had your sign in my yard,
Betsy, at me.
if I had her sign in my yard, say I lived in her ward, and the person that was running against her, and I lived by myself, came and was bothering me to vote for the other person, it's not right. Knock on my door,
Yeah.
okay? Please,
Okay.
leave those people that have
Knock and you ask for
Tom,
a vote, I can see where that might be upsetting to
Tom
some
or
people.
Carolyn
Okay.
sign. Knock on somebody that don't have a sign. The ones that have a sign, leave them alone.
So the more signs you put up, the less doors you knock, okay, I get it.
And campaign in your own neighborhood. Leave my people alone.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jim, please.
I'm in the circus again.
I thought you weren't going to come up anymore.
Please sign in, Jim. State your name and address for the record.
My name's Jim Rosapel. I live on Marguerite Street in Monroeville. Just real quick, it's been bugging me for quite a while since all this HIPAA garbage started, and it's garbage. The gentleman or lady that was the sick individual that was treated, and all this information was leaked out, has that person ever come before this council or anybody and filed a complaint?
Mr.
Mayor, we cannot answer the question.
Oh, so it's
I
a
don't even know the
fictitious-
answer,
it's
so-
a fictitious claim that you're making. You can't supply this council.
Jim, again,
Oh, boy.
anything else, Jim?
No, I'll just talk to a wall somewhere else. Thank you. For nothing.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'll open the floor up to anybody that would like to come up and address council. Robert, if you'd state your name and address for the record, we'd appreciate that, sir.
Okay, my name is Robert Serafini. I live at 4929 Point Circle Drive in Monroeville. My biggest problem here is Lou Smith said tonight about Mr. Ramsey. That is my biggest grievance. Everybody's been going back and forth. There's been a lot of animosity here. But I totally agree with him on this one particular thing about Mr. Ramsey. And everybody else has had a chance to talk about different things. And I don't mean to get into this with Mr. Ramsey or anything, but he did not have a chance to rebut anything that was said to him or about him. Everybody else has given his, that, and what. I agree with Lou. I think he should resign, but I'd like to hear what he has to say about his back taxes.
Well, you can certainly address that at the end of the...
Well, if you'd like,
Or now.
I mean, everybody else
I
has
won't
given...
stop anybody from saying what they were going to
But
say.
I just have to agree completely with Lou Smith about this. I think it's deplorable that someone, and I mean, I worked for Westinghouse. I got a good wage when I worked for them at that time. And I don't want you laughing at me either, because I'll come over there. And I'll tell you what, I just think it's deplorable that this meeting has gotten so out of hand tonight. And all I'm asking for is, does he have a reason for what he did? If he can give me a reason, I mean, everybody has extenuating circumstances for things that they do. And if there's a reason, I'd like to know it. And if it's not, I'd like to hold him accountable for it.
Well, Robert, as you well know, most times you're stood to direct it to me.
That's why I'm doing that,
And-
Mr.
and
Mayor.
And I understand that. Mr. Ramsey will address it if he chooses to, and if he chooses not to, that's
See,
certainly
everybody
his
else
right.
has addressed when they've had a problem with someone stood up here tonight. And all I'm asking for, I think he's wrong, but if he has an answer, I'd like to listen
Maybe
to
meet
it.
with him privately then.
I'm not going to listen to him privately. That's not my idea of being up here. But I'd like,
Mayor, I can answer his question.
before I convict
I mean,
anybody,
that's
I'd
up
like
to
to
you.
know
I'm
what
not
the
going to
heck's
say
going
yea or
on.
nay on this.
You know I keep a can of worms with me all the time. I do very well with Westinghouse's retirement.
I know that.
Hang on.
Mr.
Matter of
Let
fact-
them finish.
All
Matter
I'd
of
like
fact,
to do,
no,
Mr.
don't
let me-
rebuttal
let
me.
Let me address my question.
Okay.
Mr. Ramsey, this was a very unfavorable thing that they said about you,
Right.
okay? And as far as I'm concerned, until I hear otherwise, I'm in total agreement with them.
Okay.
But I'd like to hear your side before I
Are you going to let me give it
badmouth
to you? Well, you can badmouth me. I don't care.
I will probably later, but
That's all right.
tell me now.
Well, let me tell you about some of this stuff. I got a very good retirement. Matter of fact, Emerson just gave me another one. They bought Westinghouse out and they gave me another retirement. I mean, they upgraded my insurance. That's not heard of anymore. I think Verizon's throwing their people off their insurance. I get a double one. Now, I had a problem. I had my mortgage was bought out by India. I was really sick about that because that's scary. I knew a lot of people from that situation and how they had ability to maneuver a lot of things. So I said I wanted to take care of that. So I went to call India and pay my mortgage off. And they gave me a runaround. I go to my financial advisor, Heifer Tillotson. I says, would you pay my mortgage off in my behalf because I want records that I paid it off? And that was done. So my mortgage is paid off in full. Anybody that's got any common sense, you pay your mortgage off and you don't pay your taxes, your house don't belong to you. You know that, right?
Yes, sir.
So anytime they think that my taxes are too far behind, they're going to come and take my house. Right off. They will. But what happened was, after I got that straightened out there, when this came up, my wife is very sensitive about this because she's been telling me to pay.
So I read in the article.
Right. She said that, why don't you pay? I says, when I get ready, I'll pay it. So I had a problem with, before my mortgage, where I paid my mortgage off. I went in. This is my choice.
Anyway.
Anyway.
I'm Mr. Because he's already said a couple different things that shouldn't be said.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Okay, so I went to pay when I went to pay my mortgage off, IRS messed it up. They put my money in wrong accounts and stuff like that.
What year was this?
This was a couple years ago.
Well, I mean, I've read 5 times this has happened over the past
I never did have my taxes
past
updated
decade.
until lately.
Well, like I said, that's not the way the article states, sir, and
I'm telling you, can you believe me or the article? If you want to believe the article, I won't have to say no more.
Well, go ahead. I'm still listening.
Okay. So I went to the IRS to pay off my mortgage, and when I paid it off, I got this straightened out. So when this came out, my wife was very upset with me because I hadn't done it, and I chose not to do it. So I set up a process to pay it. And there was a process in set to pay my taxes. But I was upset with Monroeville. Did we have a lot of problems with Monroeville? Yes. Someday I had to write a book about that because my kids got abused big time by Monroeville. I got a kid in California. You want to hear that, do you?
About that, sir.
You want to hear it, right?
I only want to hear about your taxes.
Okay, that's pretty much it on the taxes.
Well, like I said, the article states 5 times that this has happened. They've had liens on you.
I don't know. It might have been 5. I didn't count the times.
Well, they said 5 times.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know.
Well, they did tell you that I start paying on it now?
You seem to say you couldn't remember the guy's name you put the, you know, then the taxes, they said that there's so many discrepancies with what you say, sir.
You think I'm lying to you?
Yes.
You want to hear some lies? Don't make me start talking.
Well, every time you talk, there's a lie.
Huh?
Every time you say there's something bad comes out of
Come
your
on,
mouth.
folks, we have to keep this
Anyway,
professional, please.
I just find it deplorable that, I can't believe anything you say, Mr. Ramsey.
Well, if that's the way you want to put it.
And like I said, I think it's deplorable that we all picked on everybody here tonight, but please, let's get along a little bit better.
I'm not trying to get along better
I
with
think,
you.
should resign.
I'm not going to resign.
That's it. Thank you.
Figure a way to fire me if you want.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I wish you would too, because I'd bring up some other stuff and start talking about it.
I wish I could.
Don't worry, I won't say nothing, Kim.
hang on a minute, Len. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. A couple of council has asked for a restroom break. So we're going to take a 5-minute break, and I promise we'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back from recess. Mr. Katofsky.
I thought he wasn't going to speak.
He's going to speak. That's what he just waved at me. Gentlemen, if you'll please both sign in, state your name and address, and obviously who you are, sir.
Kim Hauser. I represent the Monroeville Fire and EMS.
Very good. You feel also sign in, please?
Yeah, I signed them in.
Oh, you signed them in? Okay.
Hi, I'm Harold Kotowski. I'm the chair of the Minerva Fire Chiefs Committee. We just wanted to make sure that you had the letter that we sent to the municipality on our behalf by our attorney, that all of council got this last week. I don't know, did you guys get this?
No, that was forwarded to the attorney that's handling the investigation.
Okay. We did send a letter up from our attorney to the municipality offering to work together, resolve any issues, and handle this. And we just wanted to make sure all council saw the letter and were aware that, you know, we want to help and we want to be part of it. We think that some of the issues that were addressed tonight are issues, and we think some are not. So to keep it on the polite and professional side, we are there. Our attorney's just going to make a couple quick comments, and we're not going to be derogatory. We just want to be part of solving a problem and get on with life. We have business to do. We answer calls every day. We want the CAD system back up. Our fire department doesn't need this stress. You guys don't need this stress. And we welcome being, you know, working on this from day one.
I believe Mr. Bresnahan did contact you, Mr. Hauser.
Correct.
And you guys have spoke.
Correct.
We didn't receive a letter, though,
No,
correct?
I forwarded the letter to our attorney that's handling the situation.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Hauser, is it appropriate that council have a copy of the letter?
I think it's really for you to follow your lawyer's counsel. All we did was address the kind of the timing. As an example, we never even got to see the original complaint till like Friday, last Friday.
Mr. Dice, is that appropriate? I mean, it's just a
I think
letter.
what would be appropriate is that I would get a copy.
I'll leave it alone.
I guess my question is, was it addressed to us, council members?
Who'd you address?
It says municipality of. And at the time, I wasn't sure who special counsel was, who I was supposed to contact, other than I did reach out to Mr. Bresnahan, and he did indicate that he was working for you guys. And at that point, it's like, okay, I told him I have a response coming, but I hadn't seen any. I'm speaking on behalf of the EMS and the fire. They didn't see the complaint. And I think that's what caused them to at least call me initially was, well, gee, what's going on with special counsel? Why do you have an investigator doing this and that? And all we did was, what's it about? Well, we can't tell you. And then when you find out it's like OCR and there's issues like that, I had to reach out to OCR and find out, okay, what.
And I understand that. My question, I guess, was it addressed to all of council? Because I
The
did not
municipality
receive it.
of.
The letter was addressed to me, and I forwarded to the special legal counsel that's handling the case.
And in fact, it shows a copy to Mr. Bresnahan.
Correct. And as Harold said, I mean, you really have one of the best fire departments in the whole state, because I represent a fair number of them. And, you know, these guys saving your municipality like $6 million. You sit there and you get into this whirlpool of issues, and it's like, well, look, if you just showed it to us, and we want to work with you guys, so we look forward to that.
When you say you received the original complaint, was that the letter from Health and Human Services or the original complaint that was filed from Monroeville?
The letter from Health and Human Services.
The letter that...
And they won't release it. If you call, you know, I call and say, hey, I want to know what this is about. And they go, well, we can't tell you. Okay. Well, what's the proper response? And you know, what's the time frame? And they said, well, as long as you're working on it, they're fine. And so we look forward to working with it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, would anybody else like to address council, please do so. Ralph, if you'll please write your name and address in and state it for the record.
I have a question for council, or
State your name.
anybody can answer.
State your name for the record, Ralph, and your address.
Ralph Greco, 4804 Bird Drive, Monroeville. Throughout this investigation, has anybody interviewed Doug Cole?
I can't answer that.
Is that because you can't answer?
No,
it,
no,
or-
I don't know, Ralph. I'll speak for myself. I don't know that.
Okay. Would the attorney know?
You asking me?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's been interviewed yet, but I believe he's on the list, as well as others. That's what we've been told.
Just seems to me like that would be one of the first persons you would interview. The other thing that I want to say is I'd like us not to have to put our address and state our address when we come up here to speak. The last meeting I was at, I got some terrible phone calls, and I couldn't trace the phone numbers, and they were obscene. And if those people think that I'm going to stay away from these meetings because they made these phone calls, it's not going to happen. That only makes me want to do it more. But I can understand why the public would be scared to come up here and talk when those kind of things happen.
Well, I apologize for that, Ralph. You can't control people, though.
No, but the fact that you get your address and your name, of course, that's fine. But
Well,
couldn't there be another way?
Let me
we
ask
could
our
do-
solicitor, would that be out of line if they just sign in and don't have to publicly state it?
Well, part of the Sunshine Law talks about being a resident of the community. So they have to establish that they are, in fact, a resident of the community, and they just can't get up and say, I'm a resident of Monroeville.
I understand that.
So,
Can they write it and
Sure.
not state where they live?
yeah, I think that's appropriate. You could, my name is such and such. I live in the community. I'm going to put my address on this piece of paper, but I don't want it published.
And can we not put it in the past, we've always had that in the minutes as well? Can we remove those redact those from the minutes?
I think you could do that.
That would be good.
I mean, you could show your license to somebody if they want to, to prove that you're here from Monroeville. But
Well, let me ask just counsel your advice. I mean, what are we saying to, not just Ralph, to any resident then? Is that,
Would it be less revealing just to say the street, maybe?
no, probably not, because they can still find your phone number out.
I think it's very reasonable
I
what
still think
Mr. Erb
it's,
said.
I like the idea of them writing it down so that we validate it.
No one else.
And they simply state they're a resident.
Well, do we keep the written record?
yes, we do.
Okay, well.
And
when we
and
have
we
the
don't
record-
keep it as part of the minutes that end up getting
Is everybody
released.
okay with that on
And
council?
so you know, this isn't something that you have to keep from month to month.
Right.
All you need is the fact.
Validate that
Just to
they,
validate-
that they were residents and
Hopefully that'll help then.
Okay.
And again, Ralph, I so apologize, but again, you can't control human beings.
Well, it sounds like a good idea, then.
Okay.
And Mr. Dice, that would not be discoverable under right to know?
No, you can destroy it.
Okay.
Thank you.
And it could also be
thank you
their
for bringing
option.
it to our attention.
And it could be their option.
Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you.
That's good information.
My name down. Come visit me.
Please sign in, state your name and address for the record, even though we know who you are.
You don't have to state your address, Len.
Yeah, you don't have to give your address this time. You've been up here at least once.
Hi, my name's Len Young, resident of Monroeville,
There you go.
and also candidate for council in Ward 3. Question was asked a long time ago tonight, wasn't really answered, and if it's not appropriate to be answered tonight, that's okay with me. But with regard to all this legal mumbo-jumbo that's going on, how much is this costing us, and who's paying for it?
I don't know what the cost is, but you and I, as taxpayers, and everybody in this room is paying for it.
I think I was wearing a pretty fancy suit. Is the meter running like while he's here tonight?
Yes.
I think so.
Yikes. Okay, both of them. That's right, there was two. Okay. Well, nonetheless, let's go to number 2. earlier in the week, Mayor, I forwarded you an email about a proclamation for motorcycle safety and awareness.
Yes, and we will address that. Remember, I think I sent you an email. I've been off sick all week, or most of the week, but at any rate, though.
I'm very email impaired these days.
I'm
So
sorry?
I work like 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. most days. So I'm
Well,
email
let me just
impaired.
hit you with this. We'll forward it on to Lynette. She's the one that actually formalizes the proclamations.
Could we do it maybe next
We can have that
Tuesday?
done for Tuesday.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate
That
that
work for
very
you?
much. And number 3, just want to say that when I'm elected to Ward 3 Council in May and November, I promise to do everything I can to avoid a dog and pony show like what's been going on around here. Because, boy, we deserve better than that. That's all I
Nobody's going to
got.
argue with you, Lynn.
Y'all have a good night.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, would anybody else like to address council? This is certainly your time. And we'll close the Citizens Night proportion of the meeting. And we'll state for the record that all members of council are present. And council will move over to our minutes of special council meeting of March 7, 2013, Citizens Night meeting of March 7th, 2013, and council meeting of March 12th, 2013. Any corrections, additions? Council. Seeing none, we'll move over to our reports of our tax collections. Any issues, comments, corrections, additions? Seeing none, we'll move over to our payroll report. Once again, council, any comment, issues on our payroll? Seeing none, we'll move over to our list of bills. Vern, we'll start off with you.
No questions at this time, sir.
Thank you, sir. Nick?
No questions this evening.
Lois?
I think I only had one question there. On page 16, probably could have asked Mr. Hugus this, but Garvin Board, the engineering for the geotechnical, whether or not we might get reimbursed for those fees? Yes?
Yes, it'll be
Okay.
out of their conditional use application money.
Okay. That is all I had.
Thank you. Jim?
No, sir, nothing.
Diane?
Nothing.
Steve?
I have no questions tonight.
Clarence?
Nothing.
We'll look at budget transfers. Clarence, we'll start off with you. Steve?
No questions.
Diane?
None.
Jim?
Nothing, sir.
Lois?
No, Mayor.
Nick?
No questions, Mayor.
And Byrne?
No, sir.
And we'll move over to proposals. Lynette, if you would.
Yes, the first well, actually, we'll probably be taking all three of them. Sealed bids were received on Tuesday, May 7th at 10 a.m. for our paving program, fog seal program, and seal coat program. In council's packets this evening, there's a tabulation sheet. And if council has any questions, myself or Mr. Hugus can help you out.
Council, any questions on any of these three items that Lynette brought forward?
On the, I guess on these bids here, I'm looking through, Tresco, Felino, Youngblood, et cetera. The descriptions of all the things underneath there don't necessarily mean that those are all the items that we'll consider. For instance, they have, keyway milling and install of speed hump. Does that mean you're anticipating more speed humps and that's part of that price, or
That's correct.
that does mean?
Each one of these items has to deal with a component that will be used on one
will-
specific road or another.
Okay, all right, so that's anticipated.
Yes.
All right.
Anything else, Lois?
No, no, sir.
And we've had experience with Tresco in the past, so the fact that they're the lowest is actually probably beneficial.
Yes, we've used them for the last many years,
I was going to say, that's quite a few years, correct, Paul?
probably the last 8 or 9.
Yeah, exactly. Lynette, if you would.
Okay, and the fourth item under proposals is our healthcare proposals. Our healthcare renewal starts on June 1st, and Matt from Gleason is actually here to address council and give us a synopsis of what we're looking at for the upcoming year.
Hi, Matt, if you'll state your name for the record, please.
Matt Geyer,
from Gallagher Benefit Services.
If you would just proceed.
The coverage for the municipal employees and retirees is currently with Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, as it has been for many years. Renews June 1st, as it does on an annual basis. Our typical procedure most years is to go out to the market to different carriers, look at different types of plans, look at bid the market. This year, we found no bids that bettered the current Highmark plan, and we've offered one alternative to lower the cost of the Highmark proposed renewal, which is to increase the deductible further from where it is now, which is the deductible is currently funded by the municipality through a health reimbursement arrangement. So I believe council has the spreadsheet that I can walk through however you like, or address questions as necessary.
Did you have a figure in mind that you were considering for the municipality to pick up?
It's actually right on your chart there, Mayor.
Okay.
Is it currently at 2,000,
2,000,
4,000, and you're looking
correct.
at to go to 3,000, 6,000, is that correct?
Correct.
And that is covered by the municipality. It's a seamless
Right. It'd just
transition.
be essentially what the function of that deductible piece is a self-insured arrangement. The municipality is funding that piece, that deductible piece of the plan. So increasing it lessens the premium of the plan. Does add some liability to the municipality, but historically, it's come in at about 50% of the expected liability, which is reflected there in row 22.
Well, let me ask you this, Matt.
So do we,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to, do we add lines 16 and 25 to come up with a number, or is the number on line 25 the final expected cost to the municipality?
That's the final expected increase.
Okay, so with before the deductible increase, we expect a $305,000 expenditure for the year. If we increase the deductible, even with the municipality continuing to pay the deductible fully, we expect only to have, we expect to pay $237,000.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's a projection. That's not if, say, every employee used $3,000 of their deductible.
Correct. That's reflected in row 20 there. It's the total exposure using the in-network deductible of $3,000, $6,000.
So if they used it entirely at the new deductible rate, we'd actually have an increase
Roughly
well above the,
$146,000.
okay.
See, that was going to be my question. Is it cost effective to go that route?
Based on the history of how the HRA has worked, it stands to
Well, I
reason.
want to
it's
just say that publicly, Matt.
Yes.
That's what it really boils down to.
Yes.
It's been multiple years they've used this.
Correct,
high
and that's
deductible
why
plan.
I have for the past 2 years, the exposure's been $554,000 and $532,000 respectively. It's come in at $280,000, and actually, that's projected for the current year. And then going forward, the projected would be $266,000 if you remained as is with the current deductible.
Any other questions or comments for Matt, Council? It looks fairly simple.
Yeah, no question, just noting that you've entered, UPMC didn't have a proposal before this. True? This is their, did we consider them before?
They quoted last year.
They-
They did quote last year?
Right. We had some much more competitive quotes last year, which is why in column C there.
It wasn't very competitive, though. It's not a very competitive.
It's not this year. Last year it was, Highmark countered those proposals last year, which resulted in what stands to be -3% for this year that's finishing. So that was part of the reason they wouldn't come down for the forthcoming year.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, just one last thing. Your recommendation then would be to increase the deductible and go with what's in column E.
Correct.
Okay.
Once again, council?
How much do we pay for the HRA to have it administered? Is that a cost put into here as well? Because I know we have to pay them a certain amount.
It used to be, and they actually took it out.
Oh, it
was
used to be a
rough.
cost, now they've dropped the cost?
It's built into the premium now. Highmark doesn't charge any additional administrative fee.
That's not a figure that's added in, 678?
It used to be a per member per month fee that they
Okay.
would add to administer that.
Right.
And they no longer do that.
They just build it into the actual premium, correct?
Mhm.
Yes. Once again, council, any other questions or comments for Matt? Thank you, Matt. And resolutions, if you would, Lynette, please.
Yes, Mayor. The first resolution is a resolution relative to the procurement of professional services for the municipal pension systems sponsored by the municipality based on the requirements of Act 44 of 2009. If council remembers, we did exactly the same resolution last year for the police pension plan, and now there's a recommendation that we do it for our general pension plan as well. The language is all exact, just changing out the police to the general plan.
Questions or comments on this resolution before you, council? Lynette, if you would.
Resolution number 2 is a resolution for the disposition of records as set forth in our municipal records manual. As council knows, you'll see these resolutions from time to time on our agenda. It's basically just the disposal of records after a certain year basis. These ones are actually finance-related, and we can dispose of those at 2005, which is approximately 7 years ago, so.
Lynette, if you would.
The third resolution is a resolution changing the private road name of Adelman Lane to Adelman Lane. When they were done last spring, there was a typo done, and the residents actually called us. We contacted a family member, and they actually spelled the name wrong. So one of the daughters of the family was in the neighborhood and gave me a call, so we're just switching 2 letters there, just to get that clarified.
Real quick question. Why are we doing a resolution for a private road?
These are part of the roads that were named last spring, Steve, in regards to just
Remember, we had to name them all.
for the
Post office makes you do that.
for the GPS
Yes.
situation.
Yeah, I guess my question was just, why would there be a resolution for a private road?
We did them all by resolution last year.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Lynette. We'll move over to our reports of our officials, and
Steve, are we supposed to get an update?
Where he went.
You want to have that before the reports?
Update of what?
I believe Chief Pascarella was going to give us an update, but I'm not quite sure where he went. He just disappeared out of the audience, so let me see if I can.
Did you get him?
Okay. Well, let me do mine, and then I'll go get them and.
Good.
Okay. The only item on my report this month is the July work session falls on actually the 4th of July this coming year. So I wanted to ask council what's their pleasure. I'm recommending Tuesday, July 2nd as the date for it to be moved to, but I wanted to get council's approval so we could begin our advertising process to make that change.
So just a week before the business meeting then?
2 days
Yes.
before.
Oh, 2 days?
It would be 2 days before the work session, but actually 1 week prior to the council meeting.
Yeah.
you know what, or another suggestion, can we not do both the work session and the regular session on one evening? Usually summers are fairly quiet, that's another suggestion.
I don't know.
We have quite a bit of planning
As long as we have
items
plenty of
coming up.
coffee, I'm all for that second suggestion.
We can put
Either one
lots
makes
of
sense to
coffee
me.
on. We can put a lot of coffee on.
It's kind of, well, go ahead.
No, I mean, I just threw that out there, I mean,
Just so council's aware, we have approximately 9 to 12 planning commission items that are coming forward in the June, July months, so just be cautious of that, if that's what you choose to do.
well, no, I just threw that out because it seemed to make sense, I mean, you know.
I mean, although that would be nice, there are a lot of things that I have to, research between the time that I first consider them.
It was just a suggestion.
Yeah, okay.
Just anything else with that? Okay, since we start our reports, do you want to just hold and let Steve, I guess you have an update that you want to do?
Is that done?
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm done.
she only had the one issue.
So did we make a determination whether it was the second or the?
We did not. No, we didn't. I didn't get a direction, no.
Do it Tuesday.
Oh, yeah. What the hell we doing?
I'm good either way.
So am I, so.
So am I,
whatever you
either
wanna
way.
do, Brett.
What's your pleasure for July council?
I'd rather have them separate.
And that's two days.
Yes.
Yeah. As am I, yeah.
Let's just do it the 2nd and the 9th and get it over with.
All right,
Whatever.
that's simple.
Second and 9th.
Everybody good with the 2nd and the 9th? It's done. You good? All right. Steve, you want to come on up? We were going to do reports, but you slipped out of the room. We didn't know if you were here, but you're here.
Up in the hallway. Steve Pascarella, and I am a resident.
Are you sure?
Last time I looked. Real briefly, I wanted to talk, just real briefly, since it's already so late, about the recent drug enforcement activity in Monroeville. There was some concern raised by some of the residents and some of the businesses about the level of narcotics. And I wanted to make it clear to everybody that what happened was extremely unusual. That was a tremendous amount of drugs. That wasn't the target of the operation that day. They were just simply doing surveillance when they saw the vehicle and were able to make that arrest and seizure afterwards, which turned out to be one of the biggest in the county in at least the last 15, maybe even longer.
Is that the thing at Days Inn?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it was actually passing through. They got a room at the Days Inn. They were on their way to do an exchange in Penn Hills. We were able to get both the drugs and the money. So it was an impressive seizure. But we don't want people to think that we all of a sudden have a major drug problem.
Thank you.
We're working close with the district attorney's office. He has plans in the very near future to have some meetings with the local government and with the business community to try to get together and work on some planning, joint planning for the enforcement. I plan to shift gears a little bit, so to speak, in the way we do narcotics enforcement and target very low-level drug dealing. The exchanges in the parking lots are what we're going to go after because I feel that's our biggest problem. And some houses throughout the municipality that we have some information on where they're not big drug dealers, but they certainly affect the quality of our lives and the quality of our neighborhoods, which I think should take a priority. And that's my intent.
Well, I just want to say congratulations to your department. That was very good police work. And you're to be commended as well as all the men involved.
Yep, we thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll go back to our reports of our officials. Mr. Dice.
I have nothing new.
Clarence.
Nothing.
Steve.
I have nothing this evening.
Thank you. Diane.
Yeah, the Monroeville Convention Center has 2 upcoming shows in May. The Pan Coin Show is May 9th through 11th, I'm sorry, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong again, Kumite. Did I do it right this time? Kumite. The Fast Expo is on Friday, May 24th and 25th. And also, I'd like to wish Lynette happy birthday. She just experienced this past week. And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers on Sunday.
Thank you. Jim.
Yeah, I really don't have anything except I want to let the residents of the 4th Ward know that next week I will be out of town. Unfortunately, I can't change it. So if there's something that you really need to talk to me about, call my house. That redhead will be able to find me. I'm easy to get a hold of. Next and foremost, please go to the polls. Thanks.
Yes, Mayor. A couple of items here. The new calendar for May, June, the Monroeville Senior Center is out with activities for May and June. Of course, they've had their bingo this Saturday already, but on the calendar, there are several events. Of course, this month, because we have our senior luncheon usually falls on the 4th Monday, but that Memorial Day is going to be the 4th Monday. So that senior luncheon will be on the 20th, Monday, May 20th, and that's always a great menu, and it's at 12 noon, and it's really inexpensive. A lot of the programs that have been going on for fitness that have been all year long programs are going to be coming to an end the end of this month here. There was one that I talked about several months ago, Seniors in Motion. And this was working out at the senior center and doing all the activities that are considered fitness. And so the winner receives a fitness basket by virtue of filling the cards and getting them punched every time you're there for a physical fitness activity. And so that winner will receive a fitness basket with all kinds of goodies and keep you on the right track to healthy living. There will be a first, second, and third prize winner, and the drawing is going to be held Wednesday, May 29th. So hopefully that's gotten everybody geared up for continuing their fitness at the senior center, because they have a great fitness room, and maybe someday we can expand it. Maybe, who knows? Sustainable Monroeville, which is the grassroots group that meets at the library every first Monday, had its monthly meeting this last Monday. And, of course, the topic was very interesting because soil science and actually taking a natural approach to maintaining a lawn that doesn't put extra chemicals and runoff. And, in fact, a bit of a science lesson was there, as well as garden topics, because it's going to be that time of the year, right at the end of this month, that gardening takes place. And we will have our food garden that is going to be behind the public library. One of the speakers there was Jake Coltrane. I think it's Coltrane. Jake is I think he's a junior in high school. He did a presentation.
Cawthorn. Cothern. Cawthorn.
Thank
Jake
you.
Cawthorn.
Thank you, Mr. He's a phenomenal young man, because he was talking about a Japanese kudzu that grows all over. And, this became a very interactive conversation. A lot of gardening is maintaining the kind of soil that you have. And there were two people there who were instrumental in helping us with our garden last year and the year before that. So they talked about the science of doing gardening. And, of course, that's what we're going to be doing for a third year behind the public library. We actually have gone after some money. This all started out as seed money a couple years ago, but this year there's been a donation. That donation toward the garden has been funneled through the Monroeville Foundation, and we can thank Mr. Dice for a donation toward building a fence around the garden this year. And we're certainly going to use...
Just so you know, I write wills, too.
We're certainly going to use all we can get, because we need to have our food bank served as well. We've thus far produced 1,000 pounds of fresh organic produce, so here's the third year about ready to kick off here. Now, also, the last order here, I wanted to do one more update, especially since I saw some comment about the sinkhole. The sinkhole that was at the Giant Eagle CVS, and pretty well is known about ever since that happened, September 2011. That is when the sinkhole happened, and of course, you might remember we've had some calls, emails, and to discuss this with residents that had been primarily going all the way to the end of that year. In November of 2011, I think we even talked about it during one of our council meetings, because we were asking Mr. Hugus and Building and Engineering about the traffic problems that ensued from having only one in and out. That's been certainly an issue that we've been following. And so that was supposed to have had an advised number of people getting together with the people who were the property managers, the Glimshire Group. Of course, it took another 6 months in April in 2012 for them to have a DEP permit to work and try to mitigate all of the open area down below before that could be filled with dirt. That became a liability to their insurance company, and after getting a DEP permit, we had other meetings here to talk with the constituents about why they weren't able to get to it in the year 2012. So anyway, all the information that's been tracking what's been going on there, we keep checking in. Residents have been, verbalizing, we've been talking, we've been having emails, we've had discussions here. I've asked for the Army Corps of Engineers one night, and, nobody seemed to be able to do anything with that type of a problem except the Glimshare Group, who have said recently, and this is the update, that they say that they do have, they have the underwriting, they can afford to actually go through and start with the process of taking care of this huge problem that is that tin whistle type of material that has to probably will be sleeved and repaired so that you'd have flowing water, and then, of course, it would be filled, and it's probably going to take the rest of the year. So we discussed that pretty well, and, there are the typical correspondences here to track what's been going along. So we'll continue to try to see where we go. They said 30 to 60 days that they would commence, and this was about a month ago that they stated that they would get on with the project. Well, I hope it's the 30 days, not the 60 days. But we hope to have this resolved by the end of the year, and I'll continue my updates as I've done the past couple of years, and that's all I have.
Nick?
Yes, from the Parks and Recreation Department, the summer brochure is going to be coming out here shortly, so look for it in the mail. There's a lot of great programs coming up, particularly the opening of the Bel Air Pool, the Monroeville Community Pool. A big thank you to the Trinity Christian School. They're a school in, I believe, Forest Hills. They're not even Monroeville residents, but annually they come out as a day of caring, and they do a great job cleaning up the pool, pulling weeds, picking up garbage. They really do a great job, and they really help us out. So a big thank you to them. They've been doing it for years, many years, so it's great, very great for the community. The Bel Air Pool will open up Memorial Day weekend, and the polls will open up on May 21st, Tuesday, so please get out there and vote. And lastly, a happy Mother's Day to my wife. She is a very great mom. That's all I have for this evening.
All righty. You made a lot of brownie points with that, Nick.
I'll burn them up quick.
Don't we all? I just have condolences to Susan Worksman in her loss. I don't know, it's just condolences to Susan at this point. Maybe a moment of silence, if we could. And
if you all would, please.
Thank you. I will, that's it, Mr. Mayor.
And ditto on the Worksman family, heartfelt condolences on your loss. And just to the residents too, don't forget May 21st is our voting day. Please do your civic duty. And lastly, again, I apologize. I know the meeting got a little bit heated. Hopefully this settles down. I certainly would like it to settle down. I'm sure you all would as well. We don't need to be in the news any more than we need to be. And with that, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, that's right, I'm sorry. We do have an executive session. I apologize. I wasn't looking at the schedule. Council, motion to go
Recess into executive session.
recess into an executive session.
Motion to recess.
Is there a second? And at the executive session, it's personnel issues. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are in executive session.